Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of r/entitled People Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. My son's teacher took his cell phone home and her kid broke it. After that, am I the jerk for yelling at my husband for making my daughter feel bad? And after that, my failure to plan is now your problem. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen does not get to break anyone's cell phone. No, but I just love dropping people's phones when they aren't looking. So please smash that like button and subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. My son's teacher took his cell phone home and her kid broke it. Last week on Friday, my son, who's 10, got his phone confiscated at school. He was messing around with it during class, and the school rules are clear about phone usage during class without permission, so I totally understood. The normal protocol is that the phone would go to the office where it would be returned to the student at the end of the day or the next day. His teacher, however, apparently forgot to stop by the office before going home after school, so she accidentally took it home with her, and through some negligence, the phone broke in the hands of her toddler. Admittedly, she was very upfront about it and even came to our house personally to tell us what had happened and to apologize, which I do respect. She suggested the repayment plan for the phone and offered an old phone of hers for him in the meantime, but it was essentially a brick with a screen. After she left, I sent an email to the school about everything, simply because I think it is something the school should be involved in, since she's a teacher and easily took home a confiscated device, albeit by mistake. Received a response Monday morning apologizing for what had happened and promising to address the issue. So my sister-in-law works at the high school but smokes with the teachers at the junior high, which is where she bumped into this teacher who was upset and said that we were being jerks reporting it since she already promised to pay me for the phone, offered an alternative, and is a good teacher, so we're messing with her career unnecessarily. So yeah, am I the jerk? Not the jerk. Taking it home accidentally could be understood to a degree. There's zero reasons why it should have been within her toddler's reach. Info. OP, did you actually see the broken phone? Maybe it's just my suspicious little brain, but there was a similar post a while ago where everyone heavily suspected the teacher of stealing the phone and trying to give a crappy phone back as a payment. The original phone was not actually broken, the teacher kept it. Although this teacher offering a payment plan suggests that they're willing to completely pay you for a new phone, not just to steal and give you a crappy phone back. OP, yeah, it's busted. Screen severely cracked, and that weird ink of dead pixels is blocking 3/4 of the screen. Looking at the damage now though, unless her toddler is the next Hulk, I'm starting to doubt that that was the cause since he had a protector in a case. Not the jerk. The teacher did not follow guidelines, albeit your son was in the wrong. However, phone's prices scale and she had no reason to take it home with her. How her toddler then got a hold of it and broke it is a completely different issue. Teacher is upset she got in trouble for not following the rules, just like your son was upset his phone was taken for not following the rules. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or the teacher? Please let us know. If she took that phone home by accident, she should have made sure it was in a safe place. That teacher messed around and found out. Am I the jerk for yelling at my husband for making my daughter feel bad? So my oldest daughter, who I'll call May, is 16. She has a job, has had it for about 5 months. Out of all of my kids, she's the most mature. She's also good at saving, but she rarely spends money on things she enjoys and instead keeps it all in her bank account. My husband wanted to have her start paying her phone bill immediately. It would have been about $50 a month, but I said no and eventually compromised to the beginning of October. Note, my husband, her stepfather, is very money tight and he tells her to pay for everything she wants. Now, I agree with this somewhat, as she should be monetarily responsible so she's ready for college. But he wants her to pay for everything. Anytime she asks for something, he'll respond with, "You have money, buy it yourself." Now, fast forward to today. May has been out of town on a trip with her class, and she was going to be gone for a week. Because this is a national event that happens every year, and they're in the city, everything is very expensive. She has a credit card under her name that's connected to my account, and I said she could use it for her meals. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But snacks and souvenirs she would have to buy on her own. She called earlier and we were talking while my husband was in the room. She started complaining about how expensive everything was, and she jokingly said that she was going to go bankrupt once she returned from her trip. I told her not to worry about it, and if she needed, she could use her credit card for whatever. Then my husband pipes in and says, "Stop guilting your mother to give you money. Whatever you want, you can buy yourself." She was quiet for a moment before saying that she wasn't asking for anything, and then he repeated, "Don't guilt your mother. How can you be morally okay with that?" She said she wasn't calling to ask for money, that she just wanted to complain and that she was going to hang up. I took her off speaker to tell her it was fine, but she just swore up and down she wasn't trying to guilt me and that she was just going to pretend the call never happened and that it was fine. And then she hung up. I was so upset that I yelled at him. I told him he was being ridiculous and that she was still a kid. I left before he could respond. I'm still angry. She apologizes to me every time she buys a meal because she thinks it's too much. I've noticed that she buys her own breakfast and only spends money on lunch and dinner, even though I've said she can do all three. I'm angry and I don't know what to do. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk for yelling at your husband, but you are the jerk for continuing to be in a relationship with someone who dislikes your kid this much and makes her feel guilty for her existence and the associated costs. You need to make it clear that if he doesn't change his behavior immediately and completely, you'll be out the door. That's something I don't think is truly highlighted. He's literally making her feel guilty for existing in their lives. She's 16. You should be paying for her meals and things she needs for school and life. He's definitely a, "You can stay here and pay rent and utilities at 18, or you can find a new place to live" kind of man, and that's just unacceptable. I have a brother who's in his 40s and doesn't pay his own cell phone bill. He's on my parents' plan and it's $10 a month, so I don't know what plan your daughter is on that it's $50 unless your jerk husband thinks she has to have her own plan just so he can then turn around and decide to stop paying for it. You're the jerk for marrying a man that treats your daughter this way. She's 16. You're responsible for feeding her and should be paying all of her expenses, within reason, until at least 18. Let her save her money to build a future. If I was her, I would save every penny to get away from that horrid man. Choose your daughter. You're the jerk. He's trying to raise her to be independent and not to rely on others. Of course, all these leeches on Reddit aren't going to like him. Their parents never taught them to be independent, so they think there's something wrong with this style of parenting. Never ask a bunch of mentally unstable, lonely, depressed, confused internet dwellers for parenting advice. If it were up to them, your kids would grow up to be just as lonely and miserable as they are, watching anime and eating processed foods. Processed foods? My husband and I raised all 4 of our kids to be independent, and now they all have a few things that these Reddit bozos don't have. What's that, you ask? A job, a family, and a purpose in life. Edit. Get mad all you want, bozos. You know I'm right, and the truth hurts. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her husband? Please let us know. What I want to know is who peed in that guy's Cheerios. My failure to plan is now your problem. So I work in customer service in the automotive industry. As part of the services we offer guests, we perform a state-mandated car inspection so people can register their cars within the state. It's a simple process that can take about 15 minutes if you book an appointment with us. But every month, we get flooded with people who forgot to do the inspection on the last week of each month. It's a mad dash for last-minute appointments to fit people in before they're late. Now, we don't make money off this type of service. In fact, it's a state-set fee, and we realistically lose money doing these inspections on labor cost. I preface this to state that doing these state inspections does not benefit my shop, but we do it because it helps our customers. Front door opens to a male Karen coming in on a Friday afternoon midday. This distinguished gentleman, we'll call him Tim, walks in at around 1 p.m. in the afternoon and slaps his keys on the countertop, informing my front counter teammate that he needs an inspection now. Now understand that even though all of our appointments were booked up days ago, we will still bend over backwards to help someone out. We totally get that things don't always go according to plans in life, so we do what we can to help. That is, as long as you're a nice person. When you start trying to dictate how we're going to help you, that does not fly at my store. Tim decided that today he was going to do exactly that. After we advised him he can either wait almost 2 hours to try to work him into a slot as we process our already scheduled appointments or book an appointment with him next week. Tim let us know that booking an appointment the following week after the deadline was not an option for him. But he's got time right now, so he's going to generously give us 2 hours of his time, and we need to figure out how to get him in. Cue malicious compliance. I stepped in to take over the conversation for my front counter staff who have been dealing with him up until now. "Okay, sir, we're happy to help. I'll get your keys out to the technician. You just have a seat and make yourself comfortable." Immediately, I walked the keys out to my technician with explicit instructions. After explaining to my tech that Tim is acting like a total jerk, I gave the express instructions that we will not even touch his vehicle until 2 hours have passed. Mind you, as Tim sits in the lobby stewing, I have the pleasure of servicing several other customers who set their appointments days ahead of time. 15 minutes here, 20 minutes there, and even a 7-minute inspection for an all-electric car. Things are flowing so smoothly for all of the appointments who did things the right way, and it's showing on Tim's face. After the first hour, Tim finally has the courage to speak up. "I really appreciate y'all trying to work me in, but do you know how long it's going to be?" "No, Tim, you don't get to be nice now and try to expedite your vehicle. You don't get to be nasty to my staff and still get your way. Sorry, Tim, we're still trying to get it fit in. Like I said, about 2 hours before we can see the truck." Mind you, the lobby's totally empty, and all customers have already been serviced already. It's perfect. Fast forward another hour, and his multiple attempts to make small talk to amend his horrible manners and treatment to one of my staffers, and his car's finally being brought into the shop bays. When moments later, my technician walks into the lobby with a giddy smile. "Boss, his truck needs wipers to pass inspection. They're torn, and they fail the vehicle." Passing on this wonderful news to Tim, he agrees to have the tech install some because he, of course, did not bring any of his own. At this point, I feel quite satisfied that Tim's learned his lesson with a little additional help from the universe and him needing to also replace his wiper blades. But apparently, the universe was not quite done teaching Tim a lesson. His car still failed the inspection. The last part of the test is run by a computer that reads the internal control modules of the car. It's a totally automated process that can't be tampered or affected by the inspector. The only thing that can interfere is if the car has had the battery replaced and those control modules have been reset. But that's exactly what Tim did. Hours before coming to see me, he replaced the battery and cleared those exact modules. So at the end of the day, Tim was his own worst enemy and failed his own car, having to book an appointment for the following week. With a little help from the universe, he hopefully learned a very valuable lesson, that service workers are not your slaves, and to always tip your waiters. Am I the jerk for telling my fiance she can either have me at our wedding or her best friend and their dogs? Throw away fake names. Jessica, 30 female, and I, 29 male, are getting married next year. We've been doing the wedding planning, got places and things picked out. It's been going good until we hit this snag. Abby is Jessica's best friend and maid of honor. Both love dogs. They both have dogs. When we started talking about the wedding, Jessica told me all about this plan they both had, that when each of them got married, they'd have doggy wedding ceremonies between their dogs and the future husband's dogs at the same time. I don't have a dog, not a dog guy, so there's no potential for that to happen. I like her dog enough and let her do what she will with him, and I do get him treats and toys sometimes. I thought that would be the last I heard of that. She and Abby started to talk about how cute it would be to include both of their dogs in our wedding party. Not my thing, but I have friends and family that have done something similar, and I want her to enjoy the day. So I said okay, thinking they'd just be up at the altar or something like that. Nope, they want their dogs to get married during our wedding. I wasn't too keen on the idea and raised concerns, like what would they do with both dogs for the rest of the day? What if the venue we picked doesn't allow pets? We went back and forth, and I agreed that they could do their dog ceremony at the end of our ceremony. A couple weeks later, Jessica and Abby bring it up again. They want parts of the reception to be dedicated to their dog's friendship. Crap like puppy picture slideshow, a cake for them, dog-friendly favor bags because they want their friends and her family to bring their dogs too. I told them no, and that I already made one compromise on the issue, and we don't want a bunch of dogs around for the entire wedding and reception, and that if they did that, we'd have to find an all-new venue probably. I reminded her that she was near the limit of what she could contribute towards our wedding funds, and I'd be paying the rest, and I don't want to pay extra for stuff for a bunch of dogs. They both said that this was really important to them, so I told Jessica point blank, we can stick to what we originally agreed to, or she and Abby could have their costly party that allows dogs by themselves, and we'd just get married at the courthouse by ourselves. Abby told Jessica I was being manipulative and making ultimatums and wanted her to go stay at her place until OP pulls his head out of his backside. Jessica didn't go, but we're still going back and forth. She still wants things her way and feels I'm being too selfish. I don't think I am, because I want an enjoyable wedding and marriage with Jessica, not Jessica and Abby and their pets. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. What did I just read? A doggy wedding? What's wrong with people? Dogs are animals, not babies. This level of obsession with an animal would freak me out, and I would, personally, nope out of the relationship. Not the jerk. But it is wild that your fiancé is prioritizing this over your actual wedding. She's making the day about her and her friend and sidelining you almost completely. Her best friend is making the day about her. That's such bizarre overstepping, and the fact that your fiancé doesn't see that is really concerning. Her friend should be supporting your fiancé and you, not undermining your wedding plans to turn it into a party for her dog. I would honestly postpone the wedding altogether because this is a terrible glimpse into your fiancé's priorities. You rank below her best friend's dog. Not the jerk. Who's Jessica marrying, you or Abby? This dog idea is over the top, but could be cute if it was your dog marrying Jessica's dog. It's really weird to me that Jessica's marrying you and her dog is marrying Abby's dog all at the same time, more or less. And Jessica is talking about taking so much time out of a day celebrating her commitments to spending her life with you to celebrate her friendship with Abby via their dogs? That's not the point of a wedding. And what about the guests who don't have dogs, are allergic to dogs, or are terrified of them? Are they less important guests? Most of the time, childhood dreams about our weddings don't come true. We marry cat people instead of dog people. We come to value homes over expensive parties and realize we can't dance. It's time for Jessica to let this one go. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his wife and her best friend? Please let us know. Bro, are you seriously still going to marry her after all of this? Nice lady at the store takes advantage of my beauty guru skills. Okay, so I work as a software engineer. Our company has a small office at a skyscraper plaza that's directly connected to a huge shopping mall. It's usually where us corporate slaves go to get our lunches. I also like to spend my breaks walking around the mall. It helps me take a breather away from the stuffy office air, and it's good for waking me up. Seriously, fellow corporate slaves, take a walk during your breaks if you have a falling asleep during shift problem. Also, try to replace it with water if it's your fourth cup of coffee for the day. But mainly, I like these walks because I can do some window shopping and plan for whatever unnecessary things I'm going to buy for the end of the month when I get my paycheck, so that my uncooked chicken rinkless brain can squeeze out the tiniest drop of dopamine juice and I can finally feel something. And again, on one of these lovely days, just a few hours before I have to meet with my IT team, I decided I'd take another one of these walks and visit a beauty store. Now, I'm not really sure if this type of store exists outside of my country, but it's basically a supermarket only for makeup and other beauty products, so it's the main go-to place if you need something of that sort. I'm also dressed very businesswoman, straight out of a dark academia Pinterest board, but with a little touch of grunge and e-girl fashion influences on it. I'm really showing my age here, but dear readers, I promise I am a very serious businesswoman and do serious business with very serious clients. I just like to add a bit of self-expression into every outfit, with the accessories and the makeup and other small details, even if it is for work. But at the end of the day, I'm wearing a shirt, a blazer, and work pants basically. Well, while I'm browsing the store for something that can help me try to replicate the mermaid core look I found on TikTok, I suddenly hear a middle-aged lady call out to me with a meek voice asking for help. Now, I know I talk big, but I really am no makeup expert. My major was computer science and engineering, where 5 out of every 3 persons enrolled were male. During my studies, sometimes I would see a girl in the mirror, which was me, and get a jump scare because I hadn't seen a girl in so long. But ever since I graduated and started working full-time, I've been trying to re-explore the feminine side of myself, and I've been watching all kinds of beauty gurus, style experts, makeup review and get ready with me videos, so I know a thing or two. And this lady seemed really confused about a lot of things. She was holding 2 different blush colors and asked for testers. Nobody in the country has put out any testers since March 2020. I told her they don't make testers anymore, and her best bet was to search for the brand online and see if any influencer made a review with swatches. She looked sad. I took a peek in her basket, and there was another mess going on in there. She had a Maybelline burgundy bar and a few different lipstick colors, which were mostly cool-toned, all sharp reds and pinks, and she was a very warm-toned person with a goldenish glow to her. Honestly, when she heard the no testers, she looked so meek and small and sad that I had to help her. Firstly, I talked her out of buying any Maybelline eyeshadow palette ever because they're flaky and unpigmented. Then I researched online to show her blush colors for certain brands that I know are good quality, which was definitely not the one she was holding onto at first. I also advised her to pick lipstick colors to match the blushes or else she'd look like a mess. I basically took her around the store to build her a beginner makeup kit with all of the essentials, considering her skin type and her general color complexion. When we were done, she looked so happy that she insisted she'd take me to the cashiers for my commission. At this point, I'm thinking she must be foreign. No store like this in our country has ever had a culture of giving commissions to employees. This is when my brain finally computed. She didn't ask me for help because my highlighter looked bomb or anything. She thought I worked there. The staff does have a uniform, but it's likely that my outfit made me seem like a manager. Well, darn. I really don't work here, but by now I'm in too deep and way too embarrassed to tell her. I just mumble something incoherent, and before she can say she couldn't hear me, I duck away. Thankfully, the store was very crowded. Am I the jerk for going to a restaurant she likes, but I don't order food? We were deciding what to eat, and she really wanted to go to this restaurant. I was on board with it, but I'm super picky and had no idea what this restaurant had. We got there, I looked at the menu, and nothing looks even semi-good. For example, all of the sandwiches had wheat bread only, and I hate wheat. Anyway, I let her order her food, and when the lady asked what I wanted, I told her that I wasn't eating. I told my girlfriend I wanted her to enjoy the meal, and I was happy to be there. My girlfriend got so mad, got up and left. I left with her and asked what the big deal was. She insists that I need to be there eating with her. We ended up going somewhere else together, but it irritated me. Am I in the wrong here? Update. It was some French cafe. I've never been to a French restaurant, but I was willing to check it out. Their menu wasn't very big. I just wanted her to enjoy a nice meal. Update. There was no waitress. We ordered at the counter, and they put the food on our tray. Also, we had been together for 10 months, so I don't think there's much to feel awkward about. Update. I have no allergies. For the most part, I can usually find something to eat at a restaurant, but this French restaurant had nothing worth eating, in my opinion. I didn't Google the menu beforehand because we've never gone to a restaurant that I couldn't find something to eat. This was a lunch, not a dinner. Okay, so I just learned that all bread is made of wheat. We are all smart in different ways. It was some type of whole grain or sourdough. What I meant to say is I only like white bread, but brioche buns are good too. 10 months into the relationship, and we never went to a place where I couldn't find something to eat. This was the first time this happened. Also, I do try new things. I'm not stubborn with it, but usually it's me trying her food because I only order things that I know I will like. I don't like wasting food, nor my money. You're the jerk. Picky eaters are so exhausting. Sharing a dining experience with them is so limiting and seems like half the time they will just want to go to the same limited choices over and over. It's different if someone has dietary restrictions because of medical issues, religion, or they're vegan or vegetarian. Restrictions like that are easy to understand, and there's reasoning behind them, and eating can be planned accordingly. Someone just wanting nuggies and hating on wheat bread is a nightmare. Go try something new. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his girlfriend? Please let us know. Never go to a restaurant that doesn't have nuggies. Wee. Oh, my paper isn't long enough? Okay. So in my junior year, I was taking an art history class on medieval art and architecture. Partway through the course, the professor assigned a paper, and the instructions were that the paper length was to be 5 to 9 pages. I wrote my paper, and it ended up being 5 pages. I said everything I felt was necessary to say in that amount of pages. When I got the paper back, I received an A-. Now, I'm not usually the type to complain about an A-, but in this case, I knew I wrote a strong paper. I was an art history major, and at this point, I was 3 years into my program. So I had a buttload of art history classes under my belt, and I knew when I produced a good art history paper. So I really wanted to hear why I got the minus instead of a straight A. I went to the professor's office to ask why he graded it as such. Yes, he was quite amused someone was complaining about an A-. I didn't give a hoot. I wanted to know why he took off points and what he thought could have been improved. He hemmed and hawed for a few minutes because there wasn't anything wrong with my paper, and finally he said, "Well, it could have been longer." I said, "The prompt said 5 to 9 pages, and I was within that range." He replied, "It could have been longer." Okay then. Next paper that came around was the term research paper, and this time the prompt said at least 15 pages. Cue malicious compliance. I worked my butt off writing this research paper, and out of pure spite, I made this dude read no less than 29 pages about some stupid medieval church. Now I had written papers this long before, and a year later when I wrote my honors thesis, it was nearly 4 times that length. But for this particular topic, I was really stretching it. The verbosity was a bit ridiculous. A week or two later, he returned the paper A+ grade. He handed it to me and said with a genuine smile, "It was great. I loved it. You should submit it for publication to the XYZ History Journal." I begrudgingly submitted my maliciously compliant paper to the journal, and it was accepted and published. Admittedly, I was probably the one that suffered the most from my own malicious compliance, but I didn't care, and I'd do it again. Am I the jerk for telling my husband to get rid of our son's dog? I've been terrified of dogs since I was young. My husband knew, but I don't think he realized how bad it was until recently. He got our son a dog, and at first, I was angry, but he promised it wouldn't come near me, and our son was really happy, so I agreed they could keep it as long as it was kept away from me. For 2 months it was fine, and I barely thought about the dog being so close, but a few days ago, the dog came inside and it freaked me out. I told my husband he had to get rid of it now, since he broke his promise, and I didn't trust him to keep it away from me anymore. My husband doesn't want to get rid of it because our son is very attached to it already, and the dog is harmless according to him. He wants me to let him take me around the dog so that I'll stop being so scared of it, but I refused and told him it has to go. We argued, and he told me that if I wanted it gone, I would have to take it myself. My in-laws came to visit yesterday, and my mother-in-law asked me if something had happened between us because I'm still angry at him and she noticed. I told her about the dog, and she told him off and said she taught him better than to traumatize his pregnant wife. Now my husband is upset at me because he thinks I only told his parents to force him to do what I wanted and that our son wouldn't be okay if we got rid of the dog now. Am I the jerk? Everyone sucks here. If your phobia is that bad and you are unwilling to address it, you should never have allowed a dog to stay even one night. Your husband never should have gotten the dog without your consent. And the breeder or rescue never should have allowed him to have a dog without knowing all adults in the home were on board. Now your son and a dog will be hurt because of your collective actions. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her husband? Please let us know. Oh, my heart goes out to their son and that dog. Want me to cancel all your subscriptions? Yeah, I can do that. I used to work at a call center for one of the biggest teleproviders in our country. Mobile subscriptions, internet, landlines, all that. The call center I worked at was also only for business clients and not private customers, so it was not unusual for a client to have a lot of mobile subscriptions. One thing to note, I'm not sure how changing a mobile provider in other countries works, but in my country, you have to get the other company you want to transfer to order the numbers from where you are now to them. You cannot cancel your subscription and then have it transferred. If you cancel your subscription, it stops working right away. If you want to transfer after that, then you need to order a reopening of the subscription on that phone number for it to be able to transfer to the other teleprovider. And the reopening is treated as a new order and a new subscription, so it's an ordeal to go through. Also, and this is important for the story, if you have a debt collection case for an invoice with the teleprovider you are currently at, you will then no longer be able to get new subscriptions with that company until the debt collection is paid in full. Now on to the story. I get a call in from a customer who had maybe 10 to 15 mobile subscriptions with us, as well as an internet subscription, and apparently they worked with sales. The customer was very angry on the phone. He tells me that they have received a debt collection case from us for an invoice they had not paid, which was true. There was an invoice in our systems that they had not paid, and it had indeed gone to collection. He then told me that he knew about the invoice, but had just not bothered to pay it. What did you expect to happen if you didn't pay it? He then proceeded to berate me for sending them a debt collection and demanded that we cancel it immediately. One other thing to note is that none of the people that worked on the floor of the call center have the authority to cancel the debt collection cases. We need to send a case to another department for that. He would not let me send a case, nor would he let me call a supervisor to maybe expedite things. He said that I should cancel it right away or he would cancel all of their subscriptions right this second. Cue malicious compliance. Normally when people threaten to cancel their subscriptions because of reasons, they mean they want to transfer to another provider, and I usually refer them to contact that other provider so they can start the process. This time, however, since the customer was being a jerk, I did not do that. I asked point blank, me, do you want to cancel your subscriptions with us immediately? Customer, yes. Me, are you sure? Him, yes. Me, okay then, I will cancel all your subscriptions right this second. Good, jerk. Then he hung up. I logged the call with every detail that he had said and asked me to, and added an extra line of, if any doubts, just listen to the recording of the call. I got at it and went ahead and canceled all of the subscriptions this client had with us. All of them, even their internet subscription. After about an hour, one of my coworkers got a very angry call from the client, who was forced to call from another phone because, guess what? Their subscription was canceled. I was done for the day, so I just went home, but my coworker filled me in the next day. The client had yelled and screamed that they were no longer able to call out or receive calls, as well as their internet was down. He had read the log I created and informed the client that they had terminated our services, so of course they would not receive any calls, nor make them. They demanded that we reopen the subscription again so that they could do their work, but again, my coworker had to inform them that it would not be possible since they had a debt collection case that needed to be paid first, or else none of the orders they put in would go through. After more screaming and losing it, my coworker had to end the call. The next day, I had the evening shift, but I had saved the client's information to see if anything else had happened. Apparently, the debt collection got paid and the subscriptions were reopened. They also had ordered a transfer to another provider. I have no idea how much money was lost, but for a sales team to not be able to work for over 24 hours, I can only guess that it was a lot. Also, as a cherry on top of things, they were in a contract period with us, which means that they get a small discount on their subscriptions if they are with us for a set period of time. If they break that contract, which they did when they told me to cancel their subscriptions as well as transferring to another provider afterwards, they had to pay a fee of over $300 per subscription. That was at least $4,500 on top of what they lost the 24 hours they couldn't do anything. All because they didn't want to pay a $30 late fee. Support our channel by joining as a member today, and we'll give you a shout out in our next video. Or come watch this video next. You won't believe what Karen does in that one.